Welcome to Season 11, Episode 12 of the Ubuntu Podcast. In this episode, we're going to discuss whether Linux is rubbish. We'll also have some virtual private love for a change, and we'll go over your feedback. I'm Mark, and joining me this week, as ever, are Alan.
Hello, you.
And Martin.
Hello, Mark.
Oh, Alan, what have you been doing since last we spoke?
I've been installing CPM on a... No, I haven't. No, I haven't really. I was trying to...
thought you were serious.
Is this another very old operating system from days of yore?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't been doing that. I thought I was trying to level up my MS-DOS and Windows 9. No, I've installed Ubuntu Core on an old ThinkPad. We mentioned last week a blog post by Dylan McCall.
Yeah.
Where he used Ubuntu Core and installed various server-y type applications on a machine. I've done much the same. I've actually got a ThinkPad X61S, and I installed Ubuntu Core on it. When I say installed, I DD'd the image over the internal hard drive. That's how you install it. There's no installer for Ubuntu Core.
There's no installer?
No.
Right.
You boot from a live environment and then just go splat and put it on the hard drive and it's done.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I did snap install a whole load of stuff. So it has a whole bunch of workstation type things because the laptop.
Workstation type things. Just explain.
Well, as opposed to server type things, workstation things. Like
impress me with your workstation, please.
Well, I've got an email client,
which
like
is
anyone. Mutt.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a desktop environment?
I have an IRC client, IRC.
Yeah,
I have a Slack client, Slack term. I also have a system to back up all my email called Offline IMAP, which is awesome. And Offline IMAP will synchronize all your mail down to your local machine. So when I run Mutt, I'm actually using Mutt to open local folders, and then Offline IMAP in the background will then synchronize that off when I've next got an internet connection. I've got Network Manager on there, so I can connect to wireless networks all on the command line. There's no GUI on this thing at all. It's all command line only.
This doesn't sound quite so mental now you've described it. It actually sounds like a nice little nostalgic project.
It's quite good fun. Now, I know coming down the line, there will be a GUI for this thing. There will be a way to run graphical stuff on here at some point in the future. But I'm actually quite enjoying using GNU Screen and flipping between command line applications. I mean, if I had the space, I'd actually probably have an old DEC VT100 on my desk and connected to this laptop and just do it old school in a proper VT100.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
So as the official lead gamer of the podcast, I can recommend that you snap install msnake.
Oh, I totally have.
Oh, you've already got that. Oh, okay, then.
Of course I have. I have msnake and...
Is NetHack available as a snap?
Yes, it is. And there's another one, Moonbuggy, like all the cool games, all the AAA titles,
all the classics.
Yeah, I've got them all on this laptop. It was more like a little exercise to see what it was like to put Core on a laptop and whether I could work on a machine. Oh, I've also got a browser, Lynx, the web browser with SSL support. It doesn't do JavaScript, which makes it
does now. Actually, I added JavaScript support the other day. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, if you get the new build, it's got JavaScript support.
Wow. Oh, man. Well, I don't even need to get the new version. Because
I think it also renders images to ASCII as well.
because this is all snaps, I will have your new version because it auto updates. So that's awesome. Yes. I look forward to trying that out. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Well,
more lunacy.
On that note, let's get on with it.
Yes.
Now, this week, Alan had a thought that Linux is a bit rubbish,
and so he wanted to.
Yeah, I sometimes have.
So I'm going to start it there and let him dig himself out of a hole. Go on, Alan.
So this kind of follows on from a news article that we read about last week, where Google have announced Chrome OS can now run Linux applications, like standard Linux applications, and it got me thinking. You know, really, all of these Linux distros, I think about that, and then I think about what we've done in Ubuntu in 1804 with the minimal install, and what you've got in Ubuntu Mate with the minimal install. That just bootstraps you a graphical environment, really, and the necessary bits to be able to connect to the network and put bits on the screen and all that. On top of that, users are doing all manner of different stuff, and it's mostly not us that's creating the stuff that they're using, in the same way that Google are enabling Chrome to run applications that they didn't create. Like initially, the build was Chrome OS on top of that piece of hardware, the Pixelbook or whatever, and everything was web apps, but it was all running inside their application. With Linux desktops, we're doing the same thing. We're giving people a base, and they put all kinds of other stuff, other people's applications on top. And these days, those applications are not coming from GNOME or KDE or any other free software project. They're coming from elsewhere. Now, people might point the finger at me and say, you're the only one running proprietary software, but I assure you I'm not. There are a whole load of people who use Linux, and on top of that, put Steam, Discord, Slack, Skype, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other things. Have we failed as, is Linux that rubbish that we can't develop applications and the only thing people run on top of Linux is other people's applications?
I don't think it's failed. I think it's succeeded, which is why other people's applications now run on the Linux desktop. And also we have got some applications we can point to that grew up out of the open source and Linux community and have crossed over. So
there are a few.
Yeah, there are a few. I'm not saying there's loads, but for example, VLC is one that you can point to, and also OBS Studio now is kind of ubiquitous, and Audacity as well.
I would imagine there are way more people running VLC and OBS on Windows than there are on Linux.
Absolutely.
So they've not just crossed over, they've crossed over and eclipsed the Linux desktop, right? So we go back to my first point, is we failed.
So a sort of counterpoint I had to your initial proposition. I mean, I haven't used KDE in a long time, but when I was using KDE as my main desktop, it was a lot more that you got the desktop and you got the apps which were, they were part of the same project as the desktop, and the desktop had features. It wasn't just an app launcher. It had widgets, and the widgets integrated with the apps that you ran. And that felt much more like, an integrated operating system experience.
It does. And if you stick inside that ecosystem. So yes. if you were to go and buy, and I'm actually talking to you on a KDE Slimbook that ships with KDE Neon, right? And if you stick inside that ecosphere, you're going to have a great time. You're going to be running some awesome KDE applications. The same can be said if you went and downloaded, OpenSUSE or Fedora, and you stuck inside the GNOME experience and you only use the GNOME apps. And the same could be said for Elementary. If you stayed in the Elementary community, those guys are doing a really good job of getting people to put apps in their app center, and you could have a really nice time using that computer in that way. Then along comes your mate Jeff and says, hey, join my Discord. Or Bob at work says, let's create a team and let's all sit in Slack. Or your family member says, hey, I'd like to listen to some music on Spotify. How do I do that?
All three of those things you could just do in the browser, though.
You can now, yes. True.
Or you can do them as well as having your nice integrated suite of apps. They're not mutually exclusive things. It's not like, oh, I have to install Slack, therefore all of this other experience I've got is now completely irrelevant.
But the fact that you can still do them in the browser doesn't mean we've succeeded. It means the browser works well, and all the browser frameworks, whether that's Electron or the React or the JavaScript stuff underneath all of those apps, they've won. You look at applications that are developed now, modern applications, they are Electron, for better or worse. The fact that they eat CPU, yes, I know this. They eat your RAM, yes, I know this. They consume large amounts of disk space, yes, we all know this. They've got loads of redundant libraries across all of them. They've all got a big fat copy of Chrome inside them. Yep, we all know that. But the fact is, that's where people are developing applications. Nobody, statistically speaking, is developing GNOME, Elementary, or KDE apps.
So, but does that matter necessarily? Is it not more important that big software vendors are bringing their software to the Linux desktop, irrespective of what the toolkit and technologies may be?
Sure, but they're bringing their software to the Linux desktop, kicking and screaming while they do it. They're not those application developers aren't picking Linux first. They're picking Linux because one engineer in their company wanted to do it, or they're putting it on Linux because they've got half a dozen DevOps guys who want to dog food the company's tools. So they'll do a Linux build, and it turns out they've used something which is cross-platform. And when they think cross-platform, they mean Windows and Mac, right? And you look at a game dev, they say cross-platform, they mean Xbox and PlayStation and, and Windows. So people have a different perception of cross-platform, and we think cross-platform means Windows, Mac, Linux. Like outside our bubble, people don't think that. And so there isn't this strong motivation to port things across to Linux, which is why it's great that we've got people like KDE, like the GNOME project, and like Elementary creating from whole cloth their own applications. And like I said, those applications are great. Don't have a bad word to say about them. But at the end of the day, if you buy a laptop from Entroware, or you buy a KDE Slimbook, or you buy a Dell XPS 13, guaranteed, almost certainly, every single person who buys one of those will put third-party applications on top, and probably less and less use the applications that are shipped on the device.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, there's certainly, I certainly see this with the minimal install. I've actually said that, I would choose to use the minimal install myself now. And essentially, it is like a Chromebook because it's the bare operating system and a browser at that point. And I then lay the applications that I need on top. And the way I've always used the desktop environment is as a means to manage the launching and switching between my applications. If I look at what I have now, the most important things to me are the panels to give me some sort of status information or quick access to things to, manipulate network configuration or Bluetooth configuration. And the window manager a means to, move around between multiple workspaces. And you do wonder if maybe we peaked with Fluxbox because that has all of that. That's exactly what it does. It's the start and end of what it does.
Like everything you described there, you didn't need to say that you were running Ubuntu Mate. You could have been running anything. You could have been running Android.
I was being very careful to avoid.
Right.
Yeah.
So it feels to me like we've got to this point where we need to. You're either in one of those camps, the KDE, the GNOME, the Elementary, or actually Endless. Now I think about it, Endless are creating their own applications from whole cloth as well. Now I don't include us, Ubuntu, in that because we've never had a policy of creating our own applications. We take the best that other people do, put it together, and that's Ubuntu, right? But it still feels like, as a whole, we've kind of failed.
Is it failure or?
What's your criteria for success?
Yeah.
People using your applications. And if
hold on. You said that. So basically, because the applications that Ubuntu has chosen aren't the ones that people want to use on a daily basis.
Well,
no,
but but that's my point. People aren't even using the ones we chose because people are embracing the minimal install, so they're not even installing the ones we chose.
So does that mean that we need to look at what people are using, optimize for running? What I'm wondering is, do we essentially need to make Ubuntu the best place to run Electron apps? Can we optimize Ubuntu to run Electron more efficiently? And therefore, the fact that everything people want to run is Electron apps is great from our point of view, and therefore we haven't failed anymore.
So the solution to that, the logical solution to that, yes, I think that's an interesting proposition where you have a distro which is optimized for Electron, right?
Yes, but I don't know how this works technically, by the way. I'm just imagining there's a thing you can do.
Your logical progression is you want to have some common libraries, a common platform on which to run these Electron applications. You don't want to have 20 copies of Chrome. You want to have one copy of Chrome or one or two copies of whichever of the supported releases, right? Well, you're effectively talking about a Chromebook. You've got an operating system, and on top of that, a browser, a renderer, and the runtime where the thing runs. It's a browser. That's all Electron really is, right? So you are effectively describing a Chromebook.
Okay, maybe I am.
So I'm curious to know what Mark asked earlier. What is the measure of success? I think what you've outlined is we have failed to garner, mainstream user adoption, but is that a failing of the desktop environments, or is that a failing of the Linux community to be able to get what we recognise as desktop Linux onto devices and out to people in the way that they would buy, consumer devices.
I don't know. Like I said, Linux is rubbish because we all I know some people go, well, Linux is just a kernel. That's like we use that to mean like the umbrella of all of these things, right? We could call it open source or free software, and even then, there's overlaps, and you don't really describe the thing we want to talk about, like the wider Linux ecosystem or whatever. And
we're really talking about desktop Linux here.
Yes, I am mostly talking about desktop Linux here. But I think I would say there are some key crossover apps. I agree with you. There is OBS, VLC, and Firefox, and a bunch of others, although you could argue Firefox started on Windows and, came the other way, maybe. I don't know. But we haven't got this huge corpus of applications. It's not like Adobe, right? Adobe have this huge pile of applications. Yes, they're a big corporate entity with loads and loads of money and lots of developers, but they have this huge corpus of applications that people want, right? We don't have that. We have a few absolute golden nuggets in amongst a bunch of other ones which are good enough, probably. Good enough for most people. But we don't have this really rich library of applications. And you can see that some people like Endless, like Elementary, are striving to aim towards that. And it takes a while to get there. But we've been doing this for quite a while now. And Chrome have come along and effectively eaten our lunch.
So is that your concern that now with the changes in Chrome, that's the death knell for desktop Linux, because desktop Linux is now going to reside on Chromebooks? To
some degree, yes, that is a concern. But the flip side is we're meeting them halfway by pulling all the apps out and making minimal installs, and then people just putting web apps. I'm using the term in a derogatory manner, web apps, meaning electron applications, these big, rich, very functionally super applications, but I'll call them web apps to be derogatory just for the making a point, right? We're going down to meet them coming up, and we're meeting in the middle. So we've both come to the same conclusion that what you need is a thin layer on the bottom, some web runtime, and a few apps on top, and that's enough. And get everything else from third parties.
So do you think then that if the Chromebooks are now going to be able to run Linux desktop applications, do you think that ISVs are going to start publishing ports of their software because they can now target them on a Chromebook, and mainstream desktop Linux will get them as a side effect?
I think that's already started happening. I think the things that people will run on a Chromebook are the things that are already running on Linux. They will be Slack, VS Code, Atom, those kind of things.
What about the Adobe Creative Suite products?
I don't know. I don't know enough about that world. That would be nice. But it wouldn't surprise me if those things come to the Chrome OS and get ported across and only run on Chrome OS because of some magic deal done between Google and Adobe, maybe. I don't know. But see, the reason I wanted to bring this up is really to get other people's feedback. Like, I feel like I'm being a bit of a naysayer. Given that I work for a company that make a Linux distribution, you might think this is a weird position for me to have. And I'm willing to be convinced otherwise, or willing to be told that I'm completely wrong on all of this. Currently, I don't think I am, but I'm interested to hear everyone's feedback on what they think of us going down to meet Chrome coming up.
Please do send Alan some feedback on this, and also with OggCamp coming up, Alan, I maybe a meme-worthy presentation that you can put on YouTube called "Linux is Rubbish" might be in order.
Yeah, I'll put it behind a paywall. That's a good idea.
Yeah, do that.
All right,
awesome. Well, that's not what Samantha was supposed to do. But anyway, it's now time for some virtual private love. And this week's virtual private love was emailed to us from Andre. And he says he heard on season 10, episode 26 about our love for a VPN server. And he's made a set of scripts to create on DigitalOcean an open VPN server and destroy it with another command. So when you need a VPN, you can create one on a DigitalOcean account, connect to it, use it for as long as you need to, and then throw it away afterwards.
That's cool.
That's a brilliant idea. That disposable nature is very, very smart. I like that.
Yes.
This appeals to me, especially as DigitalOcean droplets are quick and easy to spin up. Like, you can have one up in under a minute. This is sounding like an advert, but it isn't. They don't sponsor us. You could probably also do this on a Bitfolk VPS, I would imagine. Although not, because he uses some DO APIs and stuff, but you get the point. But I like the fact that DigitalOcean also have a when you throw the VPS away, you can have it scrubbed. So whatever you were doing, if it was being logged, you could have it thrown away afterwards. So it's a nice disposable VPN on your VPS. I like that.
Very
Excellent.
clever.
Thanks, Andre.
Are you listening to us on our Roku channel? Help other Roku users find the Ubuntu podcast and learn more about open source by giving our channel a star rating.
And now it's time for your feedback. And first in the feedback this week, Tad emailed to show@ubuntupodcast.org.
To get a screenshot off the ThinkPad through the USB port, have you tried to use a live CD, navigate to the hard drive folder, and paste the file onto the USB stick? Oh, this was the fun I was having with this ThinkPad last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to get a screenshot of it.
So you take a screenshot in Windows 98, then reboot into a live CD, and then get it off that way.
What could be simpler?
Well, first of all, what live CD would run on a Windows 98 era?
Knoppix.
Let me just get my time machine and go and find a Knoppix CD that I have lying around.
Just go back in time to the lug and get a Knoppix CD from
I
there.
used to always have a Knoppix CD handy just in case something went wrong.
Do you know, now I have a USB stick on my keyring and it has Ubuntu Mate on it. How times have changed. Yeah, I know.
Stephen Bingham emailed to correct us.
Not a biggie, but Freenode Live 2018 is in Bristol again and not Bath. Yes. My mistake. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yes. Hopefully we'll go to Freenode Live in Bristol, not Bath.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do is go where it's actually taking place.
Given I went there last year, you'd think I'd know where it was.
Yeah. Still, if you go to Bath by mistake, Bath's quite a nice place.
It is very nice. Yeah, I had a wedding anniversary there one year. Very, very nice indeed. Thoroughly recommend it.
Yes. Nadra Master left a comment on our website, ubuntupodcast.org, for episode 9.
How would things go when an app like Surush is published in the Snap Store?
So Surush is what we mentioned before, the Iranian messaging app,
was it? The Iranian government-sponsored alternative to Telegram.
Oh, right. Well, if it's not breaking any of the terms of service or any laws, then I don't know.
Fine.
Yeah. I don't know what happens when a government of a nation comes knocking on Canonical's door, but I don't have to make that choice, so I don't know.
Fortunately, we've got legal team that would have to sort that out.
Yes.
Excellent. John Ree emailed.
After dabbling with Linux on and off over the years, I recently took the plunge and left Windows for Linux and will never look back.
Yay.
Ha, Alan. See, you're wrong. Just a question for Martin. So he's going to confide in someone who's got a more positive outlook. He mentioned in the Destination Linux podcast that he doesn't use LibreOffice. So what Office suite does he use?
Tell us what Office suite you use, Martin. Tell us what free software Linux distribution Office suite you use.
I use Numeric and...
Your nose is growing.
I don't actually. I don't use LibreOffice. So for work, I use the Google App Suite. My wife does use LibreOffice, but yeah,
you can't bring your wife up in order to bolster your argument, dude.
Well, all I was going to say is that I have no need in my personal life to create Word documents or spreadsheets and things. The only thing I do create is slides, and I do those with Markdown to slide creation tools because I find it more comfortable. So no, since quite a long time for work, I've used Google's apps.
Next up, Bill Rawnsley emailed.
Do you think it'd be very hard to get Linux to run on your new Hades Canyon? It will need drivers for the AMD Intel chip.
Yes.
Has it arrived yet?
You know what? They phoned me and said it was on the way, and then I missed a delivery the other day, and I thought, oh, right, that must be it. And Louise went to collect it from the dispatch station for me, and it wasn't the NUC at all. It was something else. So, no, it hasn't turned up yet. But no, I anticipate it's going to be a challenge based on what I know about the Ryzen Mobile M and the state of, not Ryzen, Vega Mobile M and the state of Vega support. So, yeah, that's going to be some fun and games, I'm sure.
Cool. Devin tweeted at Ubuntu Podcast in response to our discussion about BitTorrent downloads.
I always download my Linux ISOs over torrents when available. The download speed is much faster, even on my fibre internet, when downloading over torrent.
And Luke Walsh also tweeted,
Ubuntu Martin is in demand down in Oz, and he sent a screenshot of Ubuntu Mate 1804 torrenting with 24.4 gigabytes uploaded.
Nice.
So, yeah, it must be a regional thing, I suppose. In some places, it's more in demand than it is in others.
It's also when you happen to do it as well, because BitTorrent is obviously very good if there's a swarm of people all wanting something at the same time. And if his screenshot was taken like the day of release or something, then it could be higher.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Someone calling themselves Minor Details left a comment on our YouTube channel.
Hi guys, please comment on the UK stance on Telegram. The desire to monitor all citizens' communication is not restricted to the likes of Iran, Russia and China. Do a Google search for Theresa May attacks Telegram and learn a little something about what the UK's plan is for Telegram. So while the UK may use different words and go about things differently, the end result will be exactly the same. Collect it all.
Now, I think last year we spoke quite a lot about the noises the UK government was making at the time with regards to WhatsApp, but I think they were mentioning Telegram as well in some of the statements they made. I think the particular statement that's being referenced here was made while we were in the inter-curry phase. But yes, I mean, we have discussed in the past that, certainly especially our current government is no saint when it comes to wanting to surveil all of the things, and often makes various technically inept statements to that effect.
Yes.
Yep.
And finally, Aaron sent us a very long email that we won't read out, but we all enjoyed reading immensely.
Are you looking after your bits? If you are, help your fellow listeners keep their bits safe too. If there's a VPN or privacy service that you've found useful, email your virtual private love to show@ubuntupodcast.org.
Better late than never, Samantha.
Samantha's having a tough evening.
It's because I ruined her ThinkPad, that's why.
Yeah, well, that'll be it, yeah.
Oh dear, is she doing this on Windows 95?
She's doing it on Ubuntu Core.
Come on.
Oh dear. Well, that's it for episode 12.
Golly gosh, wow. It's coming up to Floss. What's
Talk
Floss
Live?
Talk Live. Yeah, we're going to be there soon, aren't we?
Yeah,
so come and say hello if you're going to be at Floss Talk Live on the 9th of June.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
And
Come and
maybe
buy us a beer.
Upcoming one, maybe I'll get to review this KD Steambook eventually.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Om, nom, 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 nom.